Welcome back, design students. So for this part of the series, you're going to want to open up your rigged rabbit, the one that you rigged earlier in the previous series of lessons. Before you start working, you should save a copy. So I would go to Save Scene As, and I would name your copy something like Rabbit Walk, and give it a number. And that way you'll always have, a neutral copy of your character all ready to go next time you decide to animate. So before we start, let's make sure that none of our objects have any keyframes on them, like here the legs do. So to delete keyframes, we hold down Shift and middle mouse button and drag to highlight them, and then we can delete them using the delete command in the timeline. So let's go ahead and do that. Then I'm right clicking to access the delete command. Okay, once we've got that done, we can begin to pose. So what we want to do first of all is put him in a relaxed pose. I'm going to open up my tool settings for my rotate tool and make sure snapping is turned off. Make sure you're in object mode. And then let's go ahead and put him in a relaxed pose here. Alright, so let's make him do a walk cycle. So the first thing we're going to do is grab this leg. There are keyframes on it still. Okay, delete those. So we're going to take this leg, the left leg, and we're going to move it back that way. And then we're going to take the right leg and the left leg, and we're going to move it forwards this way. So that would be a step. Now if we take a look at a human walk cycle, you can see that when you put your foot forward, the opposite arm swings forward. And you can also see that your head goes up and down here, and your head goes up when you're transitioning to the other foot, and down when you take a step. A female walk cycle is very similar, only there's more motion in the hips. And the shoulders are less forward and more back. So we need to work with the arms now. We're going to take this arm and move it forward, and this arm, and move it back. And that is the basic position for what we need. And maybe we can also take his body using the hip control and push him down just a little bit more. Okay, so now we're going to get technical here a little bit. Let's make the length of our timeline 24 frames. That is the typical length of a human walk cycle. And then we're going to put our time slider at 1. And we need to now select all of our controllers and give them a keyframe. So to make it easy to do that, what we're going to do is expand them all. And then we're going to click on the first one, hold down Shift, and click on the last one. And we could just go ahead and set a keyframe here now, but to make it convenient to select them all down the road, what we're going to do is create what's called a selection set. But before we do that, we need a place to put it. So I'm going to create a shelf up here that we can put it on. I'm going to click this gear right here, and I'm going to create a new shelf, and I'm going to name it Animation Tools And it says it already contains something, so I'm going to name this Quick Selection. It didn't like the space, apparently. So the point is to create a blank shelf, and then we're going to come up to Create, Sets, Quick Selection Set, and we're going to name this All Controls, and we're going to click Add to Shelf. And that puts it right up here. So now, whenever we need to select all the controls, we just click that. Now that we've got them all selected, let's push S on the keyboard to create a keyframe. So after we create that initial pose, let's turn on Auto Key right here. That should make it a little easier for us to animate. Turn it on right here. Okay, once we've got that initial pose, we need to move forward to frame 12. You can see what frame you're on right there. We're going to put these in the opposite position. So if you look at the leg controller here, its position is negative 1.004. If we make that a positive number just by deleting the negative sign, then it will go in the opposite position. We can do the same for each leg. And for each arm. We only need to do the Y rotation here for the arm because the Z rotation is the up and down position of it. And now let's move forward to frame 24 to the end of the timeline. Select all the controllers, and then we're going to hold down Shift and highlight that first keyframe and copy it. And then we're going to move forward to the end of the timeline and paste that in there, and hopefully that will just paste those in there. So now when we play this, we have a walk cycle. Now, one thing we're missing is the up and down motion of the body, as we saw in the example. So to create that, we need to move halfway between 0 and 11, or 0 and 12, which would be frame 6. And this is where the character would rise a little bit, and we have Auto Key turned on, so all we got to do is just go up. Sorry. Grab the hip control, go up. So he goes up a little bit. Then on frame 12, we want him to go down a little bit. And then on frame 18, we want him to go up a little bit. And then he goes back down because we copied that frame from the beginning. And so now it looks a little more realistic. Now, of course, his ears would be bouncing up and down, and his hips would be moving forward and backwards, like so. Turn off Auto Key, like so. And those are the secondary motions. But let me show you what I mean with the hip here. So when you're walking, your hip rotates in the direction of the leg you're putting forward. Now let's turn on Auto Key. And then we could add that rotation in the direction of the leg that's going forward. And so now we have this. So there you go, a little more realistic. So that's how you create a walk cycle. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to make him do some other things, and I'll see you then.